Yo, stop what you're doing real quick. Go ahead and hit that like button. I appreciate it. Subscribe too. Once upon a time, there was this kid with big dreams. He dreamed of taking over the world. One of his biggest dreams was to be on television. He wanted to be just like everyone that he saw. He wanted everyone to look up to him. He wanted everyone to admire him. So he envisioned himself in every situation, every show. I'm here to tell you today, if you're just like that kid, keep dreaming. Dream big, because you truly never know. One day, you could be that person that's on television. Keep dreaming. This is Not Your Average Success Story, Season 5. Alright, so whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kayla Booth Boyd. I am from Laura, Mississippi. I have a beautiful 7-year-old daughter and a wonderful husband named Marcus Boyd. I had a brain fart. Okay, keep going. An interesting fact about me is I am a mother, a wife. I am a hairstylist, a fashion stylist, pretty much a jack of all trades.
Kayla Booth, you can follow Kayla Booth, came over here today. I called Kayla Booth yesterday. I said, Kayla, I talked to the people that do the Black Music Honors. They say I need 3 looks for tomorrow. She had already came over here and put me together an outfit. I called her at the last minute. Man, I forgot all about it because I was doing so much other business today. I looked down, looked around, Kayla Booth and showed up by herself with the outfits, laid the outfits on, argued with me because I don't like to try on clothes. No, run in there and try it on right quick so she don't be playing. She ain't even 30 years old and she ain't never bought nobody over here. She ain't never not showed up on time. That's why she lived where she lived and got what she got. Pulled up this bitch, ain't even 30 years old, driving a Maserati. Got her shit. I love people like that.
I told them camera, look, I can take pictures all day, but when it comes to recording, I'd be like, oh. Okay, so this is what I had to overcome. I was once married to a man fresh out of high school. We got married. I was 21 years old. We have a beautiful daughter, 7 years old. Her name is Peyton. She's my best friend. She's my everything. We ended up divorcing shortly after due to the differences, you know, that this wasn't working for me. With that divorce, I've learned a lot from it. Basically, long story short, I was in a relationship, love this man to death, but with those 4 years, we had a lot of ups and mostly we had a lot of downs. Not to bash him or, you know, because he is a great person, but it was just some stuff for me I just couldn't really deal with and move forward because I just feel like some women wouldn't have to put up with it because you're so much more than, you know, just sitting around thinking that it's okay for a man to treat you the way that they do. He was military, meaning, you know, he was away from his family, he was away from me, away from his child. I think the military with his career made it easier, or I would say it makes it easier for, you know, the guys or the women to do whatever they need to do when they're away from their family. So it was just a lot of infidelity going on. So dealing with that, I dealt with that for about, I'd say, pretty much maybe 5 years. I was dealing with that, but I stayed so long because, you know, I loved him and I just knew that we was going to be together forever. And it came to a breaking point, and I think that breaking point came was when my mom called me one day and and she was on the phone and she was venting, and it was, the whole conversation was just, yeah, Kayla, I need you to listen, yada, yada, yada. And at that time, I was doing hair. And I wish I would have stayed on the phone a long time with her just to listen to her vent. But it's kind of one of those things, you know, when your parents calling and you hear the same thing over and over. And it's kind of like, Mom, you know, we'll talk about it another day. And I hung up the phone with her because at that time I was doing hair. It was probably 10 minutes later, I got a phone call. And it was my aunt, and she was crying. And I was like, what's wrong? And she told me my mom committed suicide. So when I got that call, it was like I just fell to the ground, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have stayed on the phone and talked to my mom. Just let her vent and just let her get everything that she was going through. Just listen. So at that time, I tried to call my husband. You know, at that time, he was nowhere to be found. So I just got the call. My mom committed suicide. Can't find him. Then he finally calls, and I told him what happened. He comes home, and I fast forward. We go to the funeral, you know, to lay my mom to rest, and had to come back to reality because it's one of those things to where I couldn't cry. And the reason why I couldn't cry, because I had this first husband that would tell me, you know, crying wouldn't bring her back. So I have to go in the closet and cry, or, you know, I have to just put on a strong face, but deep down inside, I was like really hurting because I had this strong G.I. Joe man would just tell me I couldn't cry, and then having to pretty much just carry everything on the inside. So fast forwarding, I'm trying to, you know, grieve, get over my mom's death, and my husband is, instead of having infidelity. And so I was just alone, you know. I was just so alone. And I had some great friends. I had Crystal, I had Ro, I had Star. Like I had a great circle of friends. So they kind of helped me, you know, they kind of helped ease the pain, because now I have a new family, you know, when the family in my household was just going downhill, if that makes sense. But long story short, so we end up moving to South Carolina. Get to South Carolina, bought this big, beautiful home, and I just knew, okay, this is it. We're starting completely over. We wasn't in South Carolina a good month. He was already cheating, and it was kind of like, dang. I pretty much had to reevaluate myself. Like, Kayla, is it you? What is the problem? But I couldn't come up with nothing. It wasn't me. So I figured it's something that he's dealing with, and it's something that he's going to have to stop on his own. So a month later, you know, I go through the call log. He's still cheating, and I end up just crying. I will never forget. I went to the house. He was gone. Peyton was gone. And I just like cried. It was so bad. I was literally in the house fighting air. It was so bad. The neighbors came. They called the police because they thought I was in the house dealing with a domestic violence. That's how bad it was, because I was just letting out the anger from my mom, the anger from God. My marriage is failing. You know, what am I going to do from here? So the police came. They searched the house. No one is there. And it was like, well, where's all the noise coming from? And I could only say it was, I just lost my mom, and I'm just letting out everything that I had inside. And so they was like, was there anyone that can come over here and be with you? And I said I had nobody to come. So fast forward, after I let it all out, I remember going to sleep. And I heard my mom's voice while I'm asleep, and it felt like she was right next to me. And all I remember hearing her saying was, Kayla, you don't deserve this. And I'm asleep, and I was like, gosh, that sounds so real. And then it said it again. She was like, Kayla, you don't deserve this. And I was like, you know what, Mom? I really don't deserve this. So I get up, and I go to Jag. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to file for a divorce. And I remember showing them the text message. I said, well, I have the proof that my husband has been cheating on me. And they was like, text messages is not enough. And so I'm like, why is it not enough? And it states, hey, I'm gonna do this to you. I'm gonna meet you here, da 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 da. So South Carolina is a state to where you have to have actual physical proof catching them in the act. So I was like, well, I don't know how I'm gonna get that. So I was like, okay, I have to get an attorney now. So I got this attorney. I have a way of, I always adopt people. So I told her she was my auntie. So I got her and she was like, Kayla, we have to get a private investigator. So she gave me this lady number. I ended up meeting with her. And I would say 3 days later, she actually caught him in the act. So she was like, Kayla, I have to give you all this paperwork, the videos, whatever you do not go to this address. So I was like, girl, I'm not gonna go over there. So I called my friends, and at that time it was Trina, Shambria, and Janae, and we all got in Trina's car. Trina, I tell everybody, Trina's my friend, to remind me of Queen Latifah when she played and set it off. So she was that friend. So I go to the address and I saw his truck sitting in the driveway. So of course my heart immediately fell to the ground. So I put my finger over the keyhole and I knocked on the door. He's crawling on the floor and he's trying to look out the window. So at the time I was like, I see you, so open the door. And I'm so glad he didn't open the door, because at that time I had this crowbar in my hand. So I just knew if he would have opened the door, I was going to jail, because all the hurt from losing my mom and everything he was doing to me, our marriage, my daughter, like I was just going to just pretty much just let it all out on him. But thank God he didn't open the door. And when he didn't open the door, it made me feel as if I was the other woman, if that makes sense. So when he didn't open the door, I knew he had this black F-150. He loved his truck. I've never been the type of person that vandalize or mess with anybody's property, but that night I remember I blacked out, and every anger, every hurt, and just feeling like I was just left. You know, I felt like at the time my mom committed suicide. I'm like, did you think of me? Did you think of my child? Did you think of my sister? And then he's out here cheating. Dang, I'm just alone. And so I remember just being out all the windows, and I was just everything was just replaying in my head. I'm just busting windows. And when I got done, it was kind of like I was trying to bust the tires, but I had no more strength left in me. I had no more strength left. So I got in the car. We left. Oh my God, I went home. I remember sleeping like a baby, because it was like I just released everything. So now I was like, okay, Kayla, you have done all this. So now you have to go through with the divorce, because I feel like it's no coming back from it, because now I actually saw it, you know, with my own eyes. And so I got home, woke up, calls coming in. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm finna go to jail. I'm finna go to jail. And luckily I didn't go to jail. No charges was pressed. But I made up in my mind, okay, Kayla, you have to go sign these papers. So long story short, you know, my attorney's like, Kayla, you sure? I was like, yeah, well, I definitely want my child support. You gotta give me child support. So she was like, okay, you don't want nothing else. I said no, because for the longest, you know, I felt like I brought nothing to the table. But in reality, I have always been a hard-working woman. I have always done hair. And he would say, oh, doing hair is not a job. You're just standing behind somebody's hair, just playing in somebody's hair. It's not a job. But in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm making money. I'm able to help pay the bills, so how is it not a job? So all those thoughts was running through my head. So I was like, no, because when I leave, you know, he's going to see, not just him, but everyone is going to see that I'm able to make it without him. So the judge was like, okay, we'll give you a year to stay in this home, so where you're able to save your money and you could just move to Dallas. So I did that. I ended up going to Paul Mitchell, graduated from Paul Mitchell. I'm so glad I made that decision. And I would come home from school and I would get this call, and it would be him on the other end, and he would be like, could you get out my house? Could you leave? And I'm like, why would you want me to leave? And I have your daughter. Well, you go stay at your sister's house. You go stay at your friend's house. So I was like, you really want me to move out this home after the judge can say I can stay here for a year? So he was like, yes. So by that time, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pack my things up, get in this U-Haul, and I'm just going to leave. So I laid in the bed and I found this pride house. I call it my pride house. And it was this real big old brick house, because it was like, I don't want to go from living in a 5-bedroom home to having to sleep on my sister's couch or my friend's couch. So I ended up driving to Alabama because my best friend Crystal, I tell everybody, she sold me a dream. And she was like, Kayla, you should just move to Alabama and I can help you with Payton, because Alabama's where it's at. So I go find this house at 108 Berry Hill Drive, and I immediately fell in love with the house. So I'm like, oh my God, it just looks like a mini mansion. And in my mind, I'm like, Kayla, how are you going to pay for this house? So I moved into this home, real excited. And next thing you know, the first of the month rolled around. I was like, I got to pay my rent. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to dental school. So this is how all the schooling comes in. So I went to dental school because I was like, I don't know anyone here but Crystal. Crystal's busy with her family. She's in law school. So I have to make some money because I don't have any clientele. So I'm going to go to school so I can get a check. So I go to school so I can get my refund check so I can pay my rent. And so by that time, I finished dental school. And I was like, Kayla, you have to find something else. I don't know anyone here. So I started marketing myself as a traveling hairstylist. So by the time I was traveling from Louisiana, South Carolina, Atlanta, Mississippi, with my baby in the back seat of the car, I'm telling you, when I got that car, it had maybe 20,000 miles on it. After I was done traveling, it's 165,000 miles on that car, because that's how far I was traveling, trying to make ends meet to pay bills. So I got to Alabama. Once again, I'm in Alabama, and I met this lady named Jennifer Bivens, and she was like, could you do my hair? And I was like, yes, I can do your hair. Did her hair, she loved it. Next thing you know it, her cousin came, and then her other cousin came, and it was just word of mouth. Her whole entire family came. And I always tell everybody, if it wasn't for Miss Jennifer, I wouldn't have the clientele that I have now, because she basically was like, hey, this girl is good, she is sweet, she will do your hair. And next thing you know, my clientele just shot through the roof. So my clientele is growing. Remind you, I got this big old house and I'm paying rent. I'm back to where I'm stable. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go and buy this house. This house was 7 minutes away from the house on Bear Hill. It was in Grandview Lane. So it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was like, you know what? I'm going to look at this house in the morning. I get up, get in the car, and I have Peyton. I was like, Peyton, let's go look at this house. So as soon as I pull into the subdivision, I immediately fell in love with the subdivision, because I was like, oh my God, it's so pretty. Pull up to the house, I look at it, and I was like, Peyton, this is going to be our house. Haven't put an offer in it, haven't talked to anybody. I just said, Peyton, this is going to be our house. So I get out the car, and I go peek through the windows. And the house was a little dated, but I love decorating. So all the old stuff I saw, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go in here, and I'm just going to fix this house up. So I peeked, and I looked, and I enjoyed it. It was beautiful. So I ended up calling the realtor. Her name was Danielle Turner, and she was so sweet. And I was like, Miss Danielle, there's this house at 163 Grandview Lane. I really want to look at it. So she was out. She was like, give me 2 days, and I can show you the home. So within those 2 days, I was still going to the house every day, because at that time, I was trying to manifest it in my life. So I would go, and I would place my hand on the house, and I was like, Lord, this is where you see me fit. I know this is going to be our house. And so Every day I go over there, pulling the driveway, visualizing this is us pulling to our home. So by the third day, I ended up meeting Miss Danielle. I looked at the house, ran through the house. I was like, oh my God, give me this house. This is gonna be my house. And so I talked to her, and I was like, Miss Danielle, I really want this house, but in all honesty, I can afford the house because I have a clientele now. But the way my taxes look, it looks like I'm on welfare, and this is just me being so honest. So she was like, okay. So she was like, get all your ducks in a row, and then we'll swing back and see about getting the house. So I was like, okay. Got all my ducks in a row. I come back, I called the bank, I told them about this house, and they was like, well, we're only going to approve you for $175,000. So I'm like, $175,000? Oh my God, I can't afford this house. So I called her back, and I was like, they're only going to approve me for $175,000. And at the time, they were asking for $238,000 for the house. So my spirit got down, and I got real sad, and I was like, you know what, Kayla, your faith is so much bigger than that. So each and every day, I would still go to this house. It was so bad. I stalked this house so bad while playing. I would never forget, I played this church song, and it was like, Lord, do it for me, because I know I wanted this house that bad, and I would play this song, Lord, do it for me. And so I was like, you know what, Miss Danielle, I'm going to write the owners a letter. And she was like, if you write them a letter, I would give the letter to the owners. So I was like, okay. So I remember writing this letter, and I had paid in to write a paragraph. And I remember saying that when I walked into this home, I felt the love, which was something I felt like I was missing. But when I walked into this house, you can just feel the love that this family had in this home. And I wrote in that letter, and I said that the same love that you put into this house, I want to give the same love so my daughter can have this home. I want to raise her up in this house. And I put some more stuff in there, and I just basically telling her my story about, I'm just really trying to start over and trying to rebuild my life. And so a day later, Miss Danielle called me, and she was like, Kayla, I don't know what you put in that letter, but the owner said whatever you put in that letter and whatever the bank is going to approve you for, that's how much they're going to sell this house to you for. So I immediately started crying. I started thanking God, because my faith and God was just telling me, don't give up, and me trying to manifest this house into our life, and me just going over there, just putting my hands on it. Y'all, it was so bad. I stalked this house until I had it under contract. I would never forget, the neighbors called the police on me, and they was like, I looked suspicious in the neighborhood. So I get pulled over, and the police was like, the neighbors called, and they were saying that you're looking very suspicious in the neighborhood. And I was like, I look suspicious in the neighborhood? And they was like, yeah, the home that you keep going to, they say an older couple lives there. And I was like, no, officer, no one lives into that home. By that time, I had my contract paper, and I was like, this house is under contract, and it's finna be my house. So by this time, everything's starting to go uphill for me. I got my house, my clientele, my daughter. I still feel like I have no love life, like something's missing. Okay, Kayla, you need a man. So I end up going to the gas station, and I met this man. His name is Marcus. And I remember being at the gas station, and I was pumping gas, and he was on the other side of the gas pump. And he started talking to me. So in my mind, I'm like, here go another one. Let me get ready to shut him down. But he was talking to me. He was like, oh, what's your name? I'm like, oh, I'm Kayla. And he's like, that's a nice car you got. And I was like, thank you. He was like, what year is it? And I'm just so unbothered. I'm like, it's old. It's a classic. So he was like, well, can I pump your gas? And I was like, I got it from here. So I get ready to get in the car, and I'm finna get ready to drive off, but for some reason my charger in my phone was not working. So I'm trying to twist the charger around. Charger still not charging my phone, so I go back into the store, buy a charger. He's still at the gas pump waiting for me to come back out. So he comes out, I come out, and he was like, can I talk to you? So I'm like, sure. So he was like, you're so pretty. He's like, I just really want to have your number. So I'm like, are you with someone? Are you dating someone? Is someone dating you that you don't know about? Because I don't have time for the BS. He was like, no, I promise. So we exchanged numbers, and I end up leaving. And his cousin, I do her hair. I still am doing her hair. I was doing hair at the time, and she called me, and she was like, Kayla, get out my cousin's face. I'm like, get out your cousin's face. Your cousin is in my face. And so she was like, yeah, he just called me, and he was like, I met this real pretty girl at the gas station. And remind you, he was lost. So I feel like God kind of put that together, because he's lost. I'm over here saying I'm not finna date no man. I ain't studying no man. But we end up getting together, talking. Well, no, let me rewind that back. It took him a long time to talk to me, because everybody knows I hate texting. And so he would text me and I wouldn't respond back. And then it's kind of hard for me to court, because I don't want to be standing behind someone's hair asking someone, oh, what's your favorite color? So I never got a chance to talk to him. And so I got the call from my cousin Keisha. And Keisha was like, Kayla, I need you to sit down. And I had just got done doing hair. And so I knew something was wrong. And she was like, I have something to tell you. And I was like, okay, tell me. And she told me my best friend was killed in a car accident. And I was like, who are you talking about? And she was like, Savannah was in a car accident and she died. And I was like, oh my God, I just started screaming. And so try to get myself together. And at this time, I have to go back to Laurel, Mississippi to go to my friend's funeral. And so I was tired, because I work from 7 a.m. I don't get off work till probably like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, because at that time I'm just on grind mode, because I want to make sure my bills is paid. I want to make sure my daughter's taken care of. I want to make sure I'm able to go to the store and my car not declining. So I'm just on straight hustle mode. So I'm tired. So I was like, who can I call to talk to me all the way to Mississippi? So I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna call this guy, see what he's talking about. And he talked to me all the way to Mississippi. So I got to Mississippi, didn't talk to him no more. So he told me I used him for his time. So talked to him, got to the funeral, kind of got to mingling with my friends and my family. So I kind of forgot about him, if that makes sense. So time for me to come home. I was like, oh my God, I'm tired, I'm sleepy. Who can I talk to on my way back home? So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna call Marcus again. So Marcus talked to me all the way back home. And the fact that he had great conversation, he listened, and it was not a dull moment on the phone. So back to reality, I'm back at home, I'm doing hair. He's calling, he's texting. I'm like, oh my God, I don't have time to talk to this man. So he calls me and I picked up and I was like, hello. He was like, hey, can I have your address? Address to what? He's like, the address to your home. I'm like, for what? And he was like, I want to bring you something. And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, I promise no funny business. I just want to bring you something. So I gave him the address, and I remember him getting out the car with flowers. And he listened because I told him I love flowers. And he had me food. Because when I'm doing hair, I don't take breaks. Because it's like once I'm starting to work, I don't like to stop for nothing. So I would go all day without eating. And if y'all worried about how my child is eating, Peyton is grown. So Peyton is cooking her own food, making her own food. So he brings me food and he brought me flowers. And I was like, oh my God, he listened. So I was looking rough, edges not laid. I'm looking how I'm looking. I grab the flowers and I go eat the food. My client's like, Kayla, just sit down and eat. It's okay, just eat. So I ate and she was like, who brought you all those flowers? And I was like, oh, this is guy in there at the gas station. And so I was like, you know what, Kayla, you're gonna miss out on your blessing. Because I remember, I always write in my Bible, everything I want, I write it down. So I have a page to where I wrote to God and I told him everything I wanted in a man. I don't want a date, I want a husband, and these are the characteristics he has to have. He has to be all of these things. And so I was like, well, Kayla, you might be missing out on your blessing, so just talk to him. So I was like, okay. So I started making time, talk to him. We started traveling together, and long story short, we ended up going to Mexico, and he proposed to me in Mexico, and we ended up getting married. We got married March the 31st, and this man is so different from every man I have ever dated. He allows me to be myself. There's no jealousy. He knows I like to talk, I like to laugh, and our relationship kind of puts me in the mind of my mom and my dad's relationship. Cause my dad, he's sweet, he's quiet, and my mom was just this flirtatious. She beats no horn, but she was just very friendly. She was just pretty much the life of the party. And I have that same personality, because if you put me in a room with 100 people, I'm gonna walk out knowing 99 of them. And if I didn't get to that last person, I'm going to go back in and talk to that person. So he allows me to mingle the room and talk to people, and he just sit back like he just in a maze, like his eyes is only on me, if that makes sense. So I love that about him. He allows me to be myself. So the advice and the message I want to give to women is never settle. I know as women, we love very hard, but it comes to a point to where it's draining. And I always tell myself, and I tell my daughter, never let a man belittle you. Never let a man or a woman think that you are not enough, because you are. I wouldn't say never put your trust in anyone, because there are some trustworthy people, and there are some really good men out there. But you just have to decipher what is good and what is bad. And I would say, if you have someone and they're constantly hurting you, and you constantly find yourself crying, and you're worried about, are you enough, that person is not for you, because love don't hurt. Love is something just so sweet and so genuine. Like when you feel it, I say this to say that most women get caught up to where they have to depend on a man. And I would say, women, go to school, find something that you're good at, find something to where hey, this man can leave me tomorrow. I'm able to take care of myself. I'm able to take care of my child. I don't have to say, hey, could you give me this? Could you give me $40? No. Work. Find something that you're truly passionate about, because when you're passionate about it, I promise you, it don't feel like you at work. I do hair from sun up to sundown, and I love what I do. Am I tired? I am, but I wake up every morning with a smile on my face, because I know this is something I'm very passionate about. When I turn them around in the chair and I see that smile, that what gets me going, that what motivates me, that what makes me happy, because my happiness comes from seeing other people happy. Those to you who are struggling with suicide, talk to someone. Don't be embarrassed about it, because losing my mom from suicide, I too had those feelings to where I didn't want to be here. And I didn't say this in the beginning of the video, but there was a point to where I felt really low, and I felt like my life wasn't good. I felt like I wasn't good, and I was contemplating on committing suicide. And the day that I felt like I was going to commit suicide, my child was 1 year old at the time, and Peyton woke up, and she looked at me, and she smiled at me, and she put her arms around my shoulder, and she held me. And I was like, you know what? I'm worth more than that. I have to be here for her. And even if I feel like someone else don't love me, someone loves me. And for her to, and I feel like that was God waking her up to say, hey, hold your mom, let her know that you need her. And that what has kept me grounded to this day, because I know I have to be here for her, and I have to set an example for her, not just her or any little girl, woman, grown woman. I want to be an inspiration. I want to be motivating to the women out there who are just struggling to feel like they're not worth it, but you are. So you are. And just don't give up. Like I say, do something that you will enjoy. And I have to thank my friend Hakira Hardy. He came all the way from Nebraska to tell this story, and I'm so honored to have him. I'm so honored to have this opportunity and for him to tell this story, because this is not your average success story. Thank you so much, Hakira.
And this is another Not Your Average Success Story.
This is another Not Your Average Success Story. Season 5.
All right. All right.
I can't allow to cry the whole interview. Oh my God.
Hey, where you going? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Appreciate you.